The year was 2187. Mars Station 9 stood like a red jewel in the middle of the dusty plains, surrounded by nothing but endless rock and sky. Humans had been living on Mars for over 30 years now, building homes, labs, farms, and factories. Life was not easy, but people worked hard. Mars had become humanity's second home. One morning, something strange was discovered under the surface, just outside the station's solar array. During a routine soil scan, a robotic digger hit something solid metallic, smooth and round. The machine stopped and sent out an alert. Within hours, the science team gathered. They brushed off the red dust to reveal a perfect sphere about the size of a chair. It was dark gray, almost black, and hummed softly with some unknown energy. It had no buttons, no doors, no seams. Just a single glowing line running around it. They brought it inside the lab. The lead engineer, a man named Devon, stared at the sphere for a long time. "I've never seen anything like this," he said. "Not Martian, not human, possibly alien." That single word alien spread across the station like fire. Devon and his team of 9 top engineers began working on it. They scanned it, tested it, tried heat, pressure, sound waves, and even magnetic fields. Nothing made it open. Every time they tried something new, the sphere responded by changing the color of its glow or letting out soft tones, but it never unlocked. They called it Object Zeta. For months, the engineers worked in shifts, barely sleeping. They wrote reports, built tools, and ran simulations. Experts from Earth sent advice. But still, Object Zeta refused to reveal its secret. People around the station began to whisper. What was it? A machine? A message? A weapon? The station commander, a careful woman named Lena, told everyone to stay calm. "We do not know what it is," she said. "We will not panic. Let the engineers work." Still, there was a feeling of pressure in the air, as if everyone was waiting for something big to happen. One night, during a storm that shook the outer domes, Devon sat alone in the lab. He looked tired. His hands shook as he reached for his tea. "I've studied machines all my life," he muttered. "And this thing, it laughs at me." He touched the glowing line. The sphere pulsed once, then nothing. In another part of the station, far from the lab, a small shuttle landed quietly. A woman stepped out, holding a travel bag in one hand and a small plant in the other. Her name was Mira. She had gray hair tied back in a braid, simple clothes, and soft eyes. She looked like someone's aunt or someone's teacher, and she had been both. She had come to visit her daughter Nira, a botanist who worked in the Green Dome. "Ma, you didn't have to come all this way," Nira said, hugging her. "I wanted to see you," Mira smiled. "And Mars too. I've never been off Earth before." Mira settled into the guest quarters. She spent her days helping Nira with the plants, talking to workers in the dining hall, and walking through the station like a quiet breeze. Everyone she met smiled at her. She had a way of listening that made people open up. One day, while sitting in the greenhouse, Mira overheard 2 young technicians talking. "They're still stuck with that thing," one said. "The sphere, 10 engineers, months of work, and nothing." Mira tilted her head. "A sphere?" she asked gently. "Yeah," the other technician said. "It's in the lab. Nobody knows what it is. Might be alien. May I see it?" she asked, curious. They looked at each other. Sure, I guess. It's not top secret." When Mira entered the lab, the engineers were deep in discussion. The sphere sat in the center of the room, glowing gently. She walked closer, her eyes wide with wonder. "May I?" she asked. Devon looked annoyed. "Please don't touch anything." Mira nodded and simply observed. She walked slowly around the object, listening to the soft hum it made. Her fingers moved in the air as if following a rhythm. "It reminds me of a music box," she said quietly. The room fell silent. Devon raised an eyebrow. What? I used to have one, Mira continued. A small wooden one. It opened when I turned a small key and played a tune. This feels like it wants to be heard, not forced. Some of the engineers chuckled. One even said, "This isn't a toy, ma'am." But one person didn't laugh. Tomil, the youngest engineer in the room. He stared at the sphere, then at Mira. "A music box," he whispered. "Sound harmony." Mira smiled at him kindly, then turned to leave. "It's just a thought," she said. "Sometimes machines are more like people than we think. They listen too." And with that, she left the lab, her presence like a soft breeze that came and went. Devon shook his head. "Let's get back to real work." But Tomil stayed behind. He stared at the sphere with new eyes. That night, the engineers rested. But Tomil didn't. He stayed in the lab, headphones on, running tests using sound frequencies, soft ones, musical ones. He remembered Mira's words, "It wants to be heard." He created tones, patterns, even simple melodies. And then at 2:17 a.m., the sphere pulsed, not a normal pulse. A strong, clear one dot. It began to glow with new colors. Patterns danced across its surface. Tomil's eyes went wide. He reached for the communicator. "Devon, you need to see this now." Morning came slowly to Mars Station 9. The soft red light from the rising sun filled the sky dome. Workers moved through narrow corridors. Machines hummed to life, and screens flickered with data. But inside the lab, something had already changed during the night. The mysterious sphere object Zeta was now glowing in rhythm. It flashed in soft blue waves like a calm heartbeat. Young engineer Tomil stood beside it, tired but excited. He hadn't slept. His mind raced with thoughts. Door opened and Devon walked in, followed by two other engineers. They stopped when they saw the sphere. What is this?" Devon asked, confused. Tomil stood straight. "I used harmonic sound waves, simple musical tones, not commands, not codes. Just sound." The others looked at the sphere again. It pulsed gently in response. "Sound?" Devon repeated. "That's not how machines work." Tomil said nothing. He only remembered Mira's words. "It wants to be heard, not forced." Devon frowned. "Keep testing. Let's not jump to wild ideas yet." But deep inside, even he knew something had shifted. Across the station, in the quiet green dome, Mira poured water onto a small plant. She moved slowly, carefully, humming a soft tune. Her daughter, Nira, walked in with a tablet in hand. "Ma," Nira said, "did you hear what happened in the lab?" Mira looked up and smiled. "The sphere? No, what about it?" "They say it responded to sound." One of the engineers tried music frequencies, and it lit up. Myra's smile didn't change. "Ah, so it listened." Nira raised an eyebrow. "You really think machines can listen like people?" "I don't know," Myra said. "But sometimes when nothing works, it helps to stop and listen." Nira sat beside her. "People are saying you helped, that the idea came from you." Mira shook her head gently. "I only said what I felt. They did the real work." Nira looked at her mother with a mix of pride and curiosity. Her mother had spent her whole life in a small town, teaching children and tending plants. No science degree, no engineering experience. And yet she had seen something none of the experts saw. Later that day, Devon called for a full engineering team meeting. All 10 engineers, Tomil, and even Commander Lena attended. On the screen, Tomil showed a graph. "These are the wave patterns the sphere responded to. Notice the peaks, they match basic musical notes, but not Earth music. It's different." Lena folded her arms. "What do you think it means?" Tomil hesitated. "I think the sphere is a kind of listening device. Maybe a machine designed to react to peaceful or harmonic sounds." Devon added, "We still don't know its purpose. It hasn't opened." But this is the first true response we've seen in months. One of the older engineers leaned forward. Should we involve that woman again, the one who gave the idea? Devon looked unsure. She's not an expert. She just said something that helped. That doesn't mean she should be in the lab. But what if she sees something else? Tomil asked quietly. Lena thought for a moment. Bring her in. Let her observe. Sometimes an outsider sees what the trained eye misses. Mira entered the lab later that afternoon. She wore the same calm smile, hands folded in front of her. The engineers greeted her politely, though some looked doubtful. She walked around. The sphere again. Its color shifted slowly, blue to green to purple. It's beautiful, she whispered. Tomil pointed to the sound console. Would you like to try something? Mira blinked. Me? Oh no, I don't know how to use machines. Tomil smiled. I'll help. With his help, Mira played a short sequence of tones, soft, slow, and peaceful. The sphere responded again. This time, its top layer shifted slightly, like plates moving in slow motion. Gasps filled the room. It moved. One engineer shouted, "It's opening," said another. But after a few seconds, the movement stopped. The sphere pulsed red once, then returned to its slow glow. Not enough, Devon muttered. We're missing something. Mira sat down. Maybe it's not just about sound. Maybe it's about feeling. Tomil looked confused. Feeling? She nodded. When I played music to my students, they listened better when I played with care, not when I just hit the keys. The room was silent. Even Devon looked thoughtful now. The next day, the team tried new combinations, not just sound but patterns that felt like a story. Music with rise and fall. Music that spoke. They recorded Mira's humming from the greenhouse and played it back. The sphere responded again. It shifted further. A small panel opened, just for a moment, then closed. Something was inside. A light? A crystal? No one could tell, but it proved one thing. The sphere could open. News spread across the station quickly. Everyone was talking about Mira now. A simple woman figured it out. She's not even a scientist. She might be the key to alien technology. Mira, however, kept her life simple. She continued helping her daughter in the garden. She still ate with the staff, still walked the quiet halls like before. When someone asked her why she wasn't celebrating, she just smiled. I didn't come here to solve great puzzles. I came to see my daughter. But deep inside she was glad. Not for the attention, but because the machine had listened. And in a way, so had the people. That evening, Commander Lena invited Mira to her office. You've helped us more than you know, Lena said. I only shared a thought, Mira replied. The real work is theirs. Even so, I'd like you to stay involved, as a guest advisor. Mira chuckled softly. Me? An advisor? I've never even passed science class. Maybe not, Lena said. But sometimes wisdom comes from places we don't expect. Mira looked out the window at the dusty red horizon. Mars is full of surprises. A week had passed since the strange sphere first responded to Mira's simple tune. The engineers at Mars Station 9 were working harder than ever, now exploring a path they never imagined before: music and emotion instead of code and force. Lab had changed. It no longer looked like a place of cold machines and hard science. Now small speakers were installed all around the room. Notes, tones, and melodies floated through the air as engineers tested different sound sequences. It felt like a strange concert hall. Still, despite their efforts, the sphere had not fully opened. It reacted, yes, but it always stopped just before unlocking. It was as if it needed something more. Something nobody had found yet. That one morning, Mira came to the lab again. She greeted the engineers politely, then sat in a corner, watching them work. She didn't speak unless someone asked her something. She just observed. Tomil walked over to her. He looked tired, his eyes showing signs of sleepless nights. Still no breakthrough, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. Mira smiled gently. You're trying hard. That matters. Tomil sat beside her. We've tried every type of music, earth songs, math-based rhythms, harmonic waves. It's like the sphere listens but doesn't speak. Mira nodded slowly. Maybe it doesn't understand what you're saying. Tomil blinked. What do you mean? You're speaking earth music, Mira said. But if this object is from somewhere else, maybe it speaks its own kind of song. Something not made by humans. Tomil thought about her words. So ... We should make music that doesn't sound human? Mira chuckled softly. I don't know, dear. But when I taught children letters, I didn't just tell them the alphabet. I sang it with them. We clapped, we played. Sometimes learning comes through play. Later that afternoon, the lab team held a meeting. Devin stood at the front, arms crossed. We've tried everything in the sound theory field, he said. Still no full response. Suggestions? A few engineers shared technical ideas: signal amplifiers, language simulations, machine code. Patterns in melody form. All sounded complex, and none had worked so far. Then Tomil raised his hand. I want to try something different, he said. Something playful. Devin raised an eyebrow. Playful? Tomil cleared his throat. Mira suggested that maybe the sphere doesn't understand human music. Maybe it needs something simpler, more like a game. I want to try sound patterns that resemble communication, not through language, but emotion. Another engineer, Laren, laughed. You want to play with the alien machine like it's a child? Tomil stayed calm. Not a child, just unfamiliar. Maybe it understands sound not as music, but as feelings. Devin sighed. We're engineers, not musicians or artists. But that's the point, Tomil replied. Everything we've tried, the best minds, the best tools, haven't worked. We need to stop thinking like engineers and start thinking like listeners. Some nodded. Others looked unsure. One even whispered, he's just following that woman again. But Lena, the station commander, was listening. She tapped her fingers on the table thoughtfully. Let him try, she said. It's harmless, and we've hit a wall. Devin didn't argue, but his face showed doubt. Fine, but do it after hours. I don't want playtime getting in the way of real work. That night, with the main lights dimmed and only a few engineers present, Tomil began his experiment. He placed small objects around the lab stones, glass, metal pipes. Then he recorded the soft sounds they made when tapped. Gently, he didn't try to make music. He created patterns: 3 taps, a pause, 1 tone, then 2 taps. He recorded the rhythm and played it to the sphere. It pulsed faintly in response. Mira stood near the doorway, watching. You're talking to it now, she said softly. Tomil smiled. I think it's listening. He created more patterns, some like questions, others like replies, some fast, some slow. With every new pattern, the sphere glowed a little more. On the 3rd night, something incredible happened. As Tomil played a soft rhythm, followed by a long pause, the sphere began to spin slowly. Its panels shifted like puzzle pieces, and from the center, a soft beam of light rose toward the ceiling. It projected an image, a circle with moving lines and dots, like a map made of stars. Gasps filled the lab. It's projecting something, shouted an engineer. It's a star map, said another. Devin rushed in from his quarters, still in his night robe. What's going on? Tomil turned to him. It responded, not to force, not to code, but to a simple sound language. Devin stared at the map, eyes wide. Mira smiled quietly in the back. Maybe it's saying hello. The next day, the whole station buzzed with news. The engineers began working on the star pattern. Some dots matched known systems. Others were completely new. But the meaning was clear. This machine had a purpose, and it wanted to share something. Still, some weren't ready to give credit. It was Tamel's idea, one senior engineer said in a meeting. He made it work. Tomil was following advice from an untrained visitor. Another whispered, "She's just a gardener. She's a schoolteacher." But more and more people began to respect Mira, not just for what she said, but how she said it. She never claimed anything. She only observed, listened, and spoke when she had something honest to share. One reporter from Earth asked her in a recorded call, "How did you outthink 10 trained engineers?" Mira laughed gently. "I didn't outthink anyone. I just asked a different question." Later, while Mira sat in the garden with her daughter, Mira said, "People on Earth are calling you the listener of Mars." Mira chuckled. "Funny title. They want you to speak in front of the Mars Council." Mira shook her head. "Let the engineers speak. I'll stay here with the plants." Mira smiled. "You're not just a visitor anymore, Ma. You're part of this story." Mira looked up at the red sky through the glass dome. Somewhere out there, the map from the sphere pointed to something greater. "I only helped the door open," she said. "What comes through? That's for others to find." The strange sphere object Zeta now rested in the center of the Mars Station 9 lab like a silent guardian. What once seemed like a dead object was now a living mystery. It pulsed softly with color, responded to sounds, and it even shone. A star map no one had seen before. Everyone on the station felt it. Something was about to happen. Tomil and the other engineers spent day and night working around the sphere. The tones, patterns, and sound responses were carefully recorded and tested. Each time they played a new rhythm, the sphere reacted, but only up to a point. It would glow, shift, and sometimes project symbols, but it never opened completely. Devin, now more serious than ever, stood silently by the observation glass each evening. Though he had doubted Mira at first, he now respected the direction her ideas had led them toward. Still, he wanted proof. Real, solid proof. One cold Martian morning, the lab team gathered early. A new plan was in place. Tomil believed they had created a sequence that might unlock the next stage of the sphere. The sequence was simple but carefully built. It included the tapping patterns Mira had first inspired, combined with harmonic tones that seemed to match the sphere's glowing cycles. "I don't know if this will work," Tomil said, "but it's the closest we've come to real communication." The room grew quiet. "Start it," Devin said. Tomil pressed the control panel. The sound filled the room, not like music, but like a conversation made of rhythm and gentle tones. Tap, pause, tone, tone, tap, tap, pause. For a full minute, the sphere remained still. Then suddenly, it responded. A loud hum filled the lab. The light inside the sphere grew brighter. Lines of blue energy danced across its surface. The outer plates began to shift again, but this time, they didn't stop. Everyone stepped back as the sphere slowly opened. Like petals of a metal flower, the layers folded outward one by one, each with glowing patterns moving across them. At the center was something that none of them expected. A floating crystal, suspended in the air, turning slowly and glowing softly with light. No wires, no supports. Just silent beauty. A wave of silence filled the lab. Even the machines stopped humming. For a moment, as if the station itself was holding its breath, it opened. Someone whispered, "It really opened." Mira stood in the doorway. She had arrived quietly, as always, not wanting to disturb anyone. Her eyes widened as she saw the glowing crystal. She walked forward slowly. "It's alive." Tomil looked at her. "What do you mean?" "It's not just a machine," she said softly. "It's awake." Devin stepped forward carefully. "Get the scanners. Measure energy, temperature, radiation, everything." Engineers rushed to gather tools and take readings. But as they approached, the floating crystal gave off a gentle pulse of light, and every device shut down. The room went dark. Screens blinked off. Tools stopped working. The emergency lights flickered on, casting a soft red glow over everyone's shocked faces. What just happened? Devon asked. Tamil tried restarting the control panel, but it was dead. It disabled everything. Mira stepped forward calmly. Maybe it's scared. The engineers turned to her. It's showing itself to us, she continued. But when? We rushed it with tools and scanners. It pulled back. Devon frowned. It's not a child, Mira. It's a machine. Is it? She asked. Or is it something else? Something that thinks? Commander Lena was called to the lab. When she entered and saw the floating crystal, she froze. This is not just a discovery, she said. This is history. The engineers explained what happened, how the crystal had turned off their devices. Lena nodded slowly. Then we don't force it. Not now. But we can't learn anything unless we scan it. One engineer argued. Lena looked at Mira. What? Do you think? Myra hesitated, then said, Let it speak first. If it wants to be known, it will tell us, Lena agreed. We wait. For the next 2 days, the lab was quiet. No tests, no machines, only simple sounds, patterns, and Mira's gentle humming. The crystal hovered above the open sphere, reacting in soft colors to the sounds around it. Then something strange happened. At exactly noon on the 3rd day, the crystal began to project symbols in the air. Glowing shapes, floating letters, and moving lines filled the space above the sphere. Tamil gasped. It's trying to talk. He recorded the symbols using a handheld visual recorder, one of the few tools still working. Devon watched closely. These symbols match the ones on the star map from last week. Mira leaned in. It's giving us directions. Maybe to where it came from. Tamil nodded. Or maybe it's showing us a path. That evening, the power returned to the lab. But the engineers didn't restart their tools. They were careful, now respectful. Mira sat quietly as the crystal spun slowly. It reminded her of a lantern from her childhood, always glowing, always present. Tamil joined her. I think this is just the beginning, Mira smiled. Sometimes the hardest doors open to the softest knock. You were right about everything. He said. I wasn't right, Mira said. I just didn't try to force the answer. Earth received the data the same night. Scientists, leaders, and news networks were stunned. A machine had been opened not with tools, but with trust. And the one who guided it was not a scientist, not an officer, but a humble woman with quiet wisdom. They called her the listener. But Mira never liked titles. She still helped her daughter in the garden. She still walked the halls like a calm breeze. But now, wherever she went, people nodded in respect. Not because she solved the machine, but because she reminded everyone how to listen. The impossible had happened. A machine that 10 engineers couldn't open had responded to a soft voice, a gentle song, and a kind heart. And now, with the floating crystal glowing gently in the lab, a new chapter was about to begin for Mira, for Mars, and for all of humanity. The floating crystal above the open sphere had now become the most important object on Mars Station 9. For years, humans had searched for signs of intelligent life. Now the first real proof was spinning quietly in a small lab, responding not to machines, but to sound, patience, and peace. The engineers had stopped calling it Object Zeta. To them, it was now simply the core. Tamil stood beside the core every morning, watching its slow spin and gentle glow. It had not spoken in words, but it communicated in colors, shapes, and light. The engineers had recorded every symbol it projected. The data was sent to Earth, where top linguists and code experts were trying to understand its meaning. But there was one person the core always responded to. Mira. Myra visited the lab each day. She never stayed long. She brought a small stool, sat beside the core, and hummed soft tunes. Some were lullabies from her childhood. Others were songs without words, just peaceful sounds. And every time, the core glowed brighter. Tamil noticed a pattern. It likes her voice, he told Devon one day. Devon, though still a man of science, nodded slowly. It feels ... aware. One morning, Mira sang a tune from her village. As she finished, the core stopped spinning. A single beam of light stretched from it and hit the wall. There, floating in the air, appeared something new, a map. The room went silent. The map was not like the one shown before. This one was clearer, larger, and filled with details. Stars blinked in clusters, paths were marked with moving lights, and one small blue dot pulsed at the center. "That's our solar system," said Laren, the station's navigator. More dots lit up, dozens of them, some near, some far, each marked with a different glowing shape. Tomil spoke carefully. "These could be locations of other artifacts, or maybe other machines." "Like the core." Devon leaned closer. "It's a network." Mira stood and took a slow breath. "It's not alone." Later that day, the lab held a meeting. Commander Lena, along with scientists, engineers, and communication officers, listened as Tomil explained. "I believe this core is part of something larger," he said. "It's like a node in a system spread across space, maybe even across galaxies." "What's the purpose of this system?" someone asked. "We don't know yet," Tomil replied. "But it's peaceful. It never attacked. It never warned us. It opened only when we approached with calm and respect." Mira sat quietly beside her daughter, Nira, who now worked as the lab's assistant. When asked if she had anything to say, Mira only said, "Maybe it's not a machine for control. Maybe it's for connection." Lena nodded slowly. "If these are signals, we might be able to reply." The next week, a message came from Earth. The United Human Alliance, USA, formed a new task group called Project Listening Light. Their goal: study the core, understand its symbols, and search for more across space. Mars Station 9 would lead the project. Tomil was named lead engineer. Devon became chief analyst, and Mira was given a title she didn't expect: honorary advisor to First Contact Protocol. She smiled when she read it, then folded the letter and put it away. "I'm still Mira," she said. "Just Mira." Meanwhile, something else began to change. Core had started projecting new images. Not just maps but memories. One day, a soft white light filled the lab. From the beam came a moving image. A planet with green skies, silver oceans, and tall crystal towers appeared. Strange creatures, tall, peaceful-looking beings with glowing hands, walked together, surrounded by light and music. "They're beautiful," Nira whispered. "It's a message," Mira said. "A memory. A way to say, we were here." Each day, more images appeared. Some showed stars being born. Others showed strange machines flying through space. One showed a garden not so different from the one Mira cared for, with vines and trees shaped like music notes. "These are not warnings," Lena said. "They're invitations." One evening, Mira sat alone with the core. The lab was quiet. Only the soft hum of machines could be heard. She looked at the crystal. "You've shown us so much," she said. "But what do you want from us?" The core glowed gently. Then, slowly, a new shape appeared in the air, a human hand reaching out. Mira's eyes filled with quiet emotion. She slowly lifted her hand, not to touch, but to mirror the image, and the core glowed gold. The next day, Tomil made a discovery. He had been comparing the core's map with known star charts. One symbol caught his eye. It was near a system only. One jump away from Mars, a place where no human missions had gone yet. He shared the data with the team. "This spot," he said, pointing to the screen, "is close. And it's marked the same way the core was." Lena looked serious. "Are you suggesting we send a ship?" "Yes," Tomil said. "It might be another core, another part of the message." Mira, who had just walked in, listened quietly. "Then the path is opening," she said. The UHA approved the mission. A ship would launch from Mars Station 9 within a month to the marked system. Mira was invited to join the mission, but she politely refused. "I've walked far enough," she said. "It's time for others to take the next step." Tomil visited her later in the garden. "You helped start this," he said. "You were the first to listen," Mira smiled. "Then you must be the first to speak," Tomil nodded. "We'll make sure the stars hear us." As the ship prepared for launch, the core pulsed gently in the lab, never silent. Always listening, Mira sat by the garden dome, watching the red horizon. She touched a small plant and whispered, "The seed is planted. Let it grow among the stars." And far above, in the silence of space, new stars blinked, waiting. News of the core spread far beyond Mars Station 9. On Earth, media channels ran the story day and night. People watched in wonder as videos showed the glowing crystal, the floating maps, and the peaceful images sent by the mysterious machine. One question started to grow louder. Who solved it? The world wanted a name. They wanted a face to call the Discoverer. And so the debate began. Many pointed to Tomil, the young engineer who spent long nights testing sounds and rhythms. His voice had unlocked the sphere. His work had revealed the map. Some called him the genius of Mars. Others praised Devon, the lead engineer. He had led the team for months, managing people, tools, and plans. He had kept the project going through failure and stress. Still, there was another name spoken quietly, but more often than expected. Mira. On Earth, reporters dug into Mira's past. They found stories of a retired schoolteacher from a small village. No science background, no training in space tech. Just a quiet woman who had come to visit her daughter. A popular news headline read, "A simple woman solved what scientists couldn't." Is this the future of discovery? Others questioned it. Should random visitors guide scientific missions? Was it luck or wisdom? Some experts even laughed. "Ideas don't count unless they come from data," one Earth professor said on a live broadcast. "We must give credit to trained minds." Back on Mars, Mira paid no attention to the news. At Mars Station 9, the question of credit reached the team. A request had come from the United Human Alliance. They wanted an official statement. Who discovered the method that opened the core? The lab team held a meeting in the main chamber. The engineers sat around a long table. Commander Lena joined them, quiet but focused. Devon began, "The world is watching. We need to decide how we answer." Toma looked up. "It's not just one name." Laren, another engineer, disagreed. "They want a clear answer. One person. That's how people understand stories." A few others nodded. Tomil did the testing. "He should be named." But Tomil shook his head. "Without Mira, I never would have tried music. We all ignored it. She saw something we didn't." Devon folded his arms. "But she didn't solve it. She gave an idea. And it worked." Tomil replied, "The best engineers on Mars spent months trying, and she cracked it with one sentence." Silence fell over the room. Then Lena spoke. "This isn't about pride. It's about truth. So I ask each of you, what matters more, who found the key or who opened the door?" No one answered. That evening, Tomil visited Mira in the greenhouse. She was tending to a small row of Martian plants. "They want to name someone," Tomil said. "Someone who discovered the core's secret." Mira didn't look up. "Let them name who they want. But you deserve to be included." Mira smiled softly. "Dear, I gave a thought. You turned it into something. I don't need credit. I have peace." Tomil sat beside her. "I never believed one voice could change the direction of science. You taught me different." Mira looked at him kindly. "Sometimes it's not about the voice. It's about the moment someone chooses to listen." The next day, Lena sent a message to Earth's UAC Council. The discovery was not made by one person. It was a combination of observation, teamwork, and open minds. However, if names are needed, Credit belongs to the engineers of Mars Station 9 and to Mira, whose wisdom led us to a path we could not find alone. Earth reacted. In many ways, some were angry. Why give credit to someone without training? Some were inspired. Let this be a lesson. Anyone can have a world-changing idea. And others felt hope. We must remember that human progress does not belong only to experts, it belongs to everyone. Social networks filled with messages for Mira, artists, painted her sitting beside the core. Children learned her story in schools. But Mira, as always, stayed quiet. Weeks passed. The ship that was sent to follow the core's map had returned. It had found another artifact, buried on a small moon, just like the first sphere. And just like before, it didn't open until soft tones were played. It also revealed a map and a symbol that matched Mira's old garden drawings. This confirmed the core was part of a peaceful network left behind by a kind, unknown civilization. A message not of war, but of unity, memory, and listening. And because of one gentle idea, humanity was now part of that story. One morning, a ceremony was held inside the main dome of Mars Station 9. It was simple. No cameras, no press. Just the team, the staff, and the friends who had worked together. Commander Lena stood at the front. Today, we don't celebrate titles, we celebrate listening. We celebrate the power of quiet thoughts and shared work. She called Mira forward. Mira stood slowly. She wore her simple clothes. Her hands were dusty from gardening. Her smile, calm as always. Lena handed her a small crystal replica of the core. This is not for being a scientist, Lena said. It's for reminding us that science needs heart too. Everyone clapped. Not because Mira had asked for it, but because she had earned it. Mira held the crystal gently, like it was a small flower. She said only 5 words. Thank you. I'm just Mira. That evening, as the red sun sank below the horizon, Mira sat in the garden with her daughter. Do you miss Earth? Mira asked. Sometimes, Mira said, but Mars listens. And far away, in the sky above, other stars blinked watching, waiting. The quiet woman who solved the mystery no one else could had not only opened a machine, she had opened a door to something far bigger than anyone had imagined. Mars Station 9 had changed forever. The discovery of the core and its gentle awakening had opened a new chapter for humanity. What started as a cold puzzle of metal and light became a story of patience, kindness, and listening. Mira's quiet wisdom had taught everyone a lesson. Sometimes, the softest voices carry the greatest power. The months that followed were full of activity. Scientists, engineers, and diplomats worked together to decode the core's messages. The floating crystal projected new symbols daily, sharing more about the creators who left it behind. An ancient, peaceful civilization that traveled the stars. New missions were planned to visit the places marked on the core's maps. Explorers hoped to find more of these artifacts, pieces of a cosmic puzzle waiting for humanity to solve. Back at the station, life continued. Mira still helped her daughter in the greenhouse, tending plants that grew stronger under the thin Martian light. One morning, Mira was walking through the station's corridors when she heard a small voice. "Grandma, wait." It was a little girl, no older than 7, holding a small model of the core made from clay. "I want to be like you," she said shyly. "I want to listen." Mira smiled and knelt beside her. Listening is the first step. The rest will come. She reached out and touched the child's hand gently. That simple moment reminded Mira why she had come to Mars in the first place. Not just to visit her daughter, but to be part of something bigger. She was not a scientist, not an engineer. Just a simple woman who chose to listen. And that was enough. As the new year dawned on Mars Station 9, the first official message from humanity was sent out. It was a soft sequence of sounds and lights, carefully designed to reflect what had been learned from the core. It was a greeting, a promise, a hope. Tomo stood at the communication console, watching the message fly into the deep dark space. This is for all who listen," he said quietly. Devon joined him. "And for all who will answer." Mira watched from the doorway, her eyes shining. "You helped us find our voice," she said. Mill smiled. "You showed us how to hear." Far beyond Mars, in the endless silence of space, the message traveled, unseen, unheard by most, but waiting for a reply, because the universe was vast and full of stories yet to be told. And so humanity took its humble leap forward, not with force or power or machines, but with kindness, curiosity, and the courage to listen. Mira looked up at the stars one last time before heading home. The simple woman who solved what 10 engineers could not have opened. More than a machine, she had opened the way for a new future.